Good day, mate. Mike Trout here. That's my horrible attempt. Hope you like my hat. Here I want to give an update of Foundups House here in Silicon Valley and give you some ideas of some of the things we're working on. These tomatoes here, which are really doing well, you can see all the tomatoes are food hacked. What does food hack mean? It means these seeds came out of the tomatoes that we buy from the grocery store. And they're in a little small bed here. As you can see, there's a lot of them in here. Look how many tomato plants I have here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in this little box. Really crowded. I have aquifer that feeds underneath. And ultimately, they are doing really well here in the sun. Here's some more surrounding a peach tree, which is helping to camouflage and helping the peach tree. And you can see there's loads of tomatoes on here. Little plant full of tomatoes. And I actually have it in a baby tub that someone threw out that catches the water. And I've got some drip holes in here so it won't fill up too high. And maybe it's a little bit too much water. I may make a few more holes to make sure the water goes down to the stone. A lot more tomatoes again growing here. And the beds are chock-a-block full. Now this is Japanese kabocha, which is like a pumpkin growing all over. And then we've got kabocha growing even up in the tree. I have it going up into this fig tree and over. Going away, and it became apparent that we need a drip system. So let me show you kind of some of the stuff that I'm doing with the drip system here. This is the cheapest standalone drip system that I could find, and you can get it at Orchard Hardware. It's $29, and there's 2 timers here. Now what I have is I have the pipe running along up the side and over, and I have them feeding down. Now I'm doing some interesting things with it. I have one of the pipes going into the aquifer here that feeds the base right here, and there's holes here, so there's actually rhizome. There's only water in here. There's no dirt, nothing else. There's just water and there's stones. And there's some sand barrier in here. And when it gets too much water, it comes out of these holes here and pours out. I also have it filling into a milk jug, which has a slow drip system. So this plant is only getting a slow drip system from it. So the drip system fills a jug and then slowly drops it in here. And then I also have a leach pipe that runs around the edge of the bed. And this is lettuce and other stuff, maybe mustards kind of growing in there. And you can see the grapes here. Now this is going to grow up into a trellis, and ultimately this vine is going to grow and cover the top there with grapes hanging down. This was the most complicated area. As you can see, I have lots of pipes coming in here. They're all bound together and they go into these beds. Now again, I have a system here that leaches water out, but I also, by the plants, have these milk jugs with the pipes going in, and you can see that's filled with water. You can add a little liquid fertilizer in there, other things if your plant needs it. It becomes an easy way to help. Now what I'm going to actually be building are some boxes to go around it, but I'm not going to talk about that today. But this is all great herbs. I always forget what this is called. Kind of a great, here's a little bee loving the garden. We got tons of bees everywhere. And awesome seed pods. So these are seeds for next year. The bees have given us in return of the flower. They're present to us as beautiful seeds. Here's my cilantro, and it's actually starting to go into seed here. And these cilantro seeds, which is, they call it a different name, are really delicious and a superfood. This is basically a basil patch here. And actually in here, these are actually Japanese sticky potatoes. I forgot what they're called. And you can also see there's some beans putting in nitrogen into the soil. These little guys could go. Anytime I see little weeds, I pull them out. And these are all different kinds of basils growing in here. You've got the dark opal basil, and you've got the traditional Italian leafy basil. So this is going to be all full of basils. And again, I've got the feeder, and I have the plants basically planted around the feeder, not down here because this area is not really getting well. The reason why I actually planted this area more is because there's a lot of water that comes out and pours down in here, so I'm taking advantage of that. Because where the pipe connects in here, it gets a lot more water. So I will keep growing this area out because the water's there. And here is possibly some of the best grow areas on the whole garden because it gets sun all day long. And this is the latest bed and the newest stuff growing in here. And it already has some very nice size tomatoes right in here. So from a small little plant, it's not a big plant, look, it's got big tomatoes. Two, this has a couple innovations in here. Again, I have these water jugs fed into the drip, so that way it puts water for a slow time really deep over time. And you can see even down here, this is mustards and other things growing up in here. I also have, you can see it in here, it's kind of hidden. There's also an aquifer in here, so it gets fed by the drip system too, and you can see the condensation on here, humidity, and this is in this permeated hole, so this is creating a nice humidity environment. And this aquifer goes to the length of this here, so there's a lot of water down and below. You know, I'm here in Silicon Valley. My family is in Japan, and I'm doing this, and I've been away from my family since November 3rd was the last time I saw my kids. Now I'm here in Silicon Valley because I have stakeholders on foundups.com. Stakeholders are folks supporting our crowdfunding platform and helping give a little bit every month, maybe sacrifice a beer or a tea or a soda. Allows me to travel back and forth from Japan. It allows me to go to conferences. It allows me to share the vision of something called Foundups House. So Foundups House basically is a sustainable living environment. Now we're just getting going with Foundups House, and eventually we'll have our own chickens and we'll have livestock and other things here as permitted by the law, bees and other things. Now, a Foundup House is a permaculture homestead, which I've been showing you. Permaculture is growing your food in an organic fashion. It is also a fabrication lab, which this October I'm going to start building. A fabrication lab comes with a CNC router, 3D printer, and ultimately we will be making things from stuff in the community. So for example, when we cut down a tree like this, we turn it into actually things. And here's Pedro's and his wife. They're going to be doing the cleaning. Buenos dias. The other thing we do at Foundup House is we launch Foundups. Foundups differ from startups in a number of significant ways. Number one is they're collectively owned. So everyone who is a stakeholder of Foundups House ultimately is an owner of a Foundup. Now, I have a number of Foundups we're working on, and for example, one of them is okonomiyaki omelet, which is something I'm going to be actually going into businesses. I got my first customer today where we will go in and we will set up and do okonomiyaki omelets. Instead of in the traditional startup where there's a few investors that own the startup, Foundup is anyone can become a stakeholder, a shareholder of Foundups for as little as $1 a month. All you have to do is support our crowdfunding campaign. Now you do need to maintain your membership, and the equity allocation only executes at our IPO. So basically we're pre-IPO, we're raising money. The money that folks contribute basically is our fund. It allows me to travel, it allows me to pitch, it allows me to do things that traditionally I'd have to basically be working 40 hours a week and I wouldn't have time. The fund gives me the freedom to help launch ideas, develop ideas. I'm paying, for example, Diana to help write the book with me. I am paying developers to help code and so on. It gives me a little flexibility. And it helps leverage some of the risk, because otherwise I'd have to put all my money in and everything else. And ultimately, that's a tremendous risk, especially when you have a wife and 2 kids. So by becoming a stakeholder, you're actually becoming an owner of the company. Now, you can learn more at foundups.com, and we are basically a business model of the future, and my goal is simple: to disrupt the startup and replace it with Foundups. Because Foundups focus on solving problems first, not focused on making money. And the fund allows us to do that, to focus on making jams and other things, to focus on making cleaners, to focus on developing new technologies out of the house with very little risk, because the fund allows us to be able to put money into that as a collective to launch these ideas. And if one of them hits it in big, guess what? The valuation goes up, and everyone who's a stakeholder of Foundup benefits. It's that simple. So to learn more, visit foundups.com. You can Skype me at Foundups. You can contact me here in Silicon Valley. I'm headed back to Japan next week, and I'll be hunting giant killer hornets. So stay with me and learn more at Foundups.